Bhagavate Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshtiki Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapati Gopesha Gopikakanta Rakshasa Saptakantana Gaura
Radhe Vrindavaneshwari
Vrishabhanu Sati
Devi Pramani
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati
Devi Purnamari Vamsari
Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyadya Deshatarine Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Continue our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 5, Text 30. Before we continue, yesterday we were speaking about the modes of material nature and how that we are reading and hearing from Bhagavatam, so is that above the modes? So I checked with Guru Maharaj, and he said that we could be in the mode still while we are hearing, because it depends on our mood. So all the practices of bhakti, at our level, because we are so conditioned and we have so many material desires, so then it depends what's our mood when we are doing these activities. So we have to have the proper mood to be beyond the modes. And what does that mean? That means pure devotional service. Right now we are at the stage where we are purifying ourselves by hearing and chanting and worshipping the deity. So the more we do these activities, the more we get purified, the more our material desires reduce, and the more the desire will be there to please Krishna. And so what is the perfection? That there is no more material desire, and the only desire is to please Krishna. Is that okay? Sneha,
yes. Yes.
Yeah. So we continue.
It will depend that what I am thinking at that time. While reading, my mind can wander somewhere.
Yeah, and what's our intention? Because many people do hearing and chanting also, but their intention is that after I give up this body, I want to get liberated. I want to go to the light, the Brahma Jyoti.
Yeah.
So, but then that, so that's also still in the modes, right? Or we have some material desire that I want to hear and chant, and I will, I don't know, get some material benefit or something. So it depends what's our intention.
if we are, yeah, as you mentioned yesterday, that if we are doing in our some desire, then it's in the passion, right? Then we are doing in the mode of passion.
That's when we are thinking that I am doing such a good thing for others, then that's false ego in the mode of passion. That I'm
Okay.
so great, I'm helping others. Yeah, then that's false ego in the mode of passion.
Though I'm doing the good thing, though I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita, though I'm reading Srimad Bhagavatam, but still I am expecting a result out of it. Then the modes will apply that, right?
Yes. But if it's done, my dear Krishna, I'm hearing this for your pleasure. Like really. And then at our stage, we can, because we are not yet at that stage, so we can remind ourselves and we can say, okay, I'm doing this reading for Krishna's pleasure.
Then it is in the pure sattva.
And then gradually we can be situated in that pure sattva.
Okay.
At our stage, we just say it out verbally because maybe some of us are not yet at that stage. Maybe some of us are. And then if we just verbalize it to ourselves to reinstate, okay, my intention is for the pleasure of Krishna.
Okay.
And that applies to all our, like even our chanting, deity worship, all the processes of bhakti.
Okay.
Yeah.
Though we might deviate in between, doesn't matter, but at least we should remind ourselves that I'm doing it for your pleasure.
Yeah, so that at least, it's just kind of for our purification.
Okay.
To remind ourselves, yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. Although we are not doing it for his pleasure, literally, some of us, because that's like pure devotional service. But like Satyanandan Maharaj says, even if for that one moment we are able to say, Krishna, I'm doing this for your pleasure, and really for that one moment, we are doing it for that pleasure. So then at least that moment was a pure moment,
Okay.
So we should just keep reminding
Yes.
ourselves that, we are doing it for you, Krishna. This is for your pleasure.
Yeah. And then slowly, gradually, we will, be in that.
Right.
Okay. Let's continue with today's reading. Text 30. Aham tatvad vikurvanan mano vekarikad abhut vekarikascha ye deva arthabhi yanjanam yataha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The false ego is transformed into mind by interaction with the mode of goodness. All the demigods who control the phenomenal world are also products of the same principle, namely the interaction of false ego and the mode of goodness. So we heard yesterday how the false ego was created from the Mahatattva, from the Chitta, how this false ego is created. And this is the false ego which binds the living entity into all the upadhi. I am man, I'm woman, I'm grass, I'm tree, I'm, whatever. So many upadhis we have. I'm tall, I'm short, or whatever. So that's the false ego. Now again, because all these modes of nature are interacting. Now when the mode of goodness interacts with the false ego, then the mind is produced. So Maitreya Muni is explaining to us one by one, how did this creation actually happen? He said first Lord Vishnu was lying down in the causal ocean, and then the Mahatattva is there. Everything is unmanifest. Nothing is manifested. He just looks at the material energy and he puts the living entities there. And then with time, the agitation begins, and one by one. So the Mahatattva is created. Mahatattva is the Chitta, which is almost pure goodness, but has very tinge of passion in it. And then with that, how the false ego is created and the false ego in the mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Now, when the same false ego, it's combining with goodness, the mind is created, and also the 10 deities, the 10 demigods who control our body, controlling deities of the body. You know, for example, that's the like we think that we are seeing with these eyes of ours, but it's not that we can actually see with these eyes. And that's the reason in the Vedas also it's prescribed that somebody who has weak eyesight, then they worship Surya Dev, because he is in charge of the light, on charge of the seeing. Or then somebody is poor of hearing, then there is another demigod, you know, that you pray to. But of course, we are trying to, what we are trying to do is, of course, engage all our senses for the pleasure of Krishna. So we do not need to separately worship these demigods, but this is just to understand that how we are thinking that, oh, our body, everything is happening automatically. But no, this body is actually a dead body. And the demigods are there who are controlling, who are allowing us to, okay, see, to hear, or whatever other actions, you know, to speak, to evacuate. All these are controlled by the demigods. Is that okay?
Yeah. They are like agents, no?
Yes.
Right. God's agents. And yeah, and that's why Krishna says that just worship me and it's already complete, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Mm.
So, text 31. Tejasan indriyani eva jnana karma mayani cha. The senses are certainly products of the mode of passion and false ego, and therefore philosophical, speculative knowledge and fruitive activities are predominantly products of the mode of passion. So we saw how mode of the false ego with goodness created the mind and the 10 demigods. Now false ego with the mode of passion is creating the senses. The chief function of the false ego is godlessness. When a person forgets his constitutional position as an eternally subordinate part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and wants to be happy independently, he functions mainly in two ways. So here our whole conditional life is so nicely written by Prabhupada in just one sentence, 2 sentences. What is the false ego function? What's the false ego? That, okay, that God does not exist and that I'm God. Why should Krishna be God? I am powerful, so I am God. And then what we do, because we have that thinking, then we forget that actually who we are part and parcel of Krishna. So he first attempts to act fruitively for personal gain or sense gratification. And after attempting such fruitive activities for a considerable time, when he's frustrated, he becomes a philosophical speculator and thinks himself to be on the same level as God. So what does this is like karma. We keep on acting, thinking, I will do this, I will be happy, let me do this, I will be happy, I'll go here, I'll be happy, let me enjoy this, I will be happy. And we try that to such a degree, and then we say, no, but it's not giving me any happiness, I'm still frustrated. And the frustration becomes so much that the philosophy comes, oh, everything is false, let me give up this world. Everything is false, this world is false, and I am God. I'm going to give up this body and I'm going to become God. That is the jnanis. So the first is the karmi level, and then that's the jnani. Then this false idea of becoming one with the Lord is the last snare of the illusory energy, which traps a living entity into the bondage of forgetfulness under the spell of false ego. Because Maya, what's her function? She's a devotee of the Lord. She's a pure devotee of the Lord. Now, what does she want to do? What's her service to the Lord? Is to keep all the living entities who still have a desire to enjoy in the material world, to keep them here in the material world. She does not allow them to go to Krishna, because then those souls will simply create a disturbance for Krishna and in the spiritual world. It's like when we have a prison and the prisoners just run away from the prison, the jailer just, even though they are not reformed, and then they're let loose in society, then they create a havoc in society. So Maya Devi, she's a very good jailer. So what does she tell? Because each of us have that desire that I want to be God, right? That I'm God. So what does she do? She makes this desire very strong. in the sense she lets us believe in that yes, I am God. And then the souls who still want to believe that, then they remain here in the material world. The best means of liberation from the clutches of false ego is to give up the habit of philosophical speculation regarding the absolute truth. One should know definitely that the absolute truth is never realized by the philosophical speculations of the imperfect, egoistic person. So how can we come out of this false ego that I'm God, that I'm on the same level of God? Then we should stop using word jugglery, using logic, using our mind, because there is a certain community of people, certain group of people who do that. And they're trying to understand God by their own mental strength, but our mind is imperfect. It's limited. So we cannot understand the unlimited with our limited mind. The absolute truth or the Supreme Personality of Godhead is realized by hearing about Him in all submission and love from a bona fide authority who is a representative of the 12 great authorities mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. By such an attempt only can one conquer the illusory energy of the Lord, although for others she's unsurpassable, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.14. So then how can we understand what's the truth? Who's the truth? Who's God? Who's the Supreme Lord? How do we understand? When we hear from the true representative of Krishna, hear from the true Guru. And who is he? He's the one who's following. Who's following who? The 12 Great Mahajan. We have heard that there are 12 Great Mahajans that are mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Then who are the 12 Great Mahajans? They are, let's see, Brahma, Narad, Manu, Lord Shiva. Then we have Janak Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Bali Maharaj, Yamraj, and then
4 Kumaras.
the 4 Kumaras. And then we have is Bhishma Dev. Bhishma Dev, and I'm not sure if we said Yamraj. Yamraj is also an authority.
Yes, you mentioned.
Okay. And so, yeah, so I think we are forgetting too. But anyway, so there are 12 great authorities, and we should hear, because there's so, in Kali Yuga, everybody says I'm a guru, there's so many gurus. There's so many, but we should hear from people who are following the authority, who have been trained under authority, if we really want to make a solution, if we really want to understand the truth. Yeah, only by this we can conquer the illusory energy. Only by this attempt, when we hear from the devotees. Otherwise, then this material energy of Krishna is very difficult to overcome. He says in Bhagavad Gita that this material energy of mine, this divine energy of mine, he calls it divine. Why? Because she's his. It's very difficult to overcome. But one who has surrendered unto me can very easily cross beyond it. And surrender to Krishna begins by hearing and chanting. So text 32, Tamaso bhuta sukshma dir yata kam lingam atmanaha. The sky is a product of sound, and sound is the transformation of egoistic ignorance. In other words, the sky is a symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. So then we heard that false ego with passion, false ego with passion created the senses. Now, false ego with ignorance is creating the sky, this ether, where everything is situated. And then, what is the quality of sky? The quality of sky is sound. That's how sound is produced. In the Vedic hymns, it is said, Etasvad Atmana Akasha Sambhutaha. The sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. Those who are egoistic in passion and ignorance cannot conceive of the personality of Godhead. For them, the sky is the symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. So, sky is symbolic representation of the Supreme Soul. And let's see further. Kalam mayamsha yogena bhagavad vikshitam nabaha nabhaso anusritam sparsham vikurvan nirmame anilam. Thereafter, the personality of Godhead glanced over the sky, partly mixed with eternal time and external energy, and thus developed the touch sensation from which the air in the sky was produced. All material creations take place from subtle to gross. The entire universe has developed in that manner. So we can see that how systematically, one by one, all the elements are being created. So it's all the subtle elements are created first, and then comes the gross elements. So it's very systematic. From the sky developed the touch sensation, which is a mixture of eternal time, the external energy, and the glance of the personality of Godhead. The touch sensation developed into the air in the sky. Similarly, all other gross matter also developed from subtle to gross. Sound developed into sky, touch developed into air, form developed into fire, taste developed into water, and smell developed into earth. So then Lord Vishnu is still, Mahavishnu is glancing. He glanced at the sky, and then when time and the agitation of the energy, what's created is the sense of touch. So we can see when air blows, we can feel the air. We can't see it, but we can feel it, you know. And so we can feel the air. So air has the quality of touch as well as sound. Each gross element, the more gross we go, it takes on the quality of the previous elements. So sky does, we can't feel it. It's just space. But if this space didn't exist, we wouldn't be able to hear. There would be no sound. And that's why Krishna says that he's the sound in Bhagavad Gita. No? He says, I'm sound. As we just read earlier, that the sky, the sound is a representation of the Supreme Soul. So now air was developed. So air has the quality of touch and sound. Then from air, still with the agitation and with time, what's happening is from air comes fire. So fire has the quality of sound, touch, and also form. So what does that mean? We can hear the fire, we can touch, of course we'll get burnt, and we can see the fire. So it takes on one more quality. Then with further agitation of the modes with this element, from fire comes water. So water has an additional quality of taste. And so water has sound, touch, form, and taste. We can see it, we can hear it, we can also taste it, no? Touch it. And then from a further agitation comes fragrance, smell. And then from there, earth is produced. Earth has all the qualities and plus the fragrance. You know, we have the fragrance of the earth. And that's how the flowers, they have the fragrance. Or even when the rain falls in the sky, on the ground, we have the fragrance. We have the fragrance of the soil. So is that clear?
Yes, that is clear. But can you just explain once again about the one that you mentioned, that the sky in the what was that? The sky in the mode of ignorance and sky in the mode of passion. Is it? Was it that, right?
No, the sky in the mode, the sky is a product of sound, and sound is a transformation of egoistic ignorance. So when false ego, we said when false ego was mixed with goodness, we got, what did we get? The mind and the controlling deities. Then when the false ego mixed with passion, we got the senses. Then when the false ego mixed with ignorance, we got the sky, and the quality of the sky is sound.
And what was in the goodness?
Goodness is mind and controlling deities of the body.
Oh, okay. So when our false ego, they are just explaining those three connections, that what is produced when it is connected, and then later they are connecting these now, right?
Yeah, so step by step, one by one, how each element was produced is being said.
Okay.
How this creation actually takes place. So first, the Chit, the Mahatattva is there, which is almost pure goodness, just a little bit of passion is there. Then with the agitation of time, then false ego was created. And then how the different false egos were there. And then how now again false ego, because these modes are there, and then the modes and the time, then all the creation is happening gradually, one by one. So they're explaining how the elements are created from the most subtle to the most gross. Because we are so bewildered by this material world, we don't understand what it is. So step by step, it's just how material, it's just matter. The idea is to make us understand it is just matter. Don't be bewildered by it. It's just earth, water, air, fire, sky, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. Like that. And that Krishna is creating all these.
Yeah, I think it's beyond perception.
Yes.
We just accept it. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, God, Krishna created all this.
Yes.
I think
And
that is
then
enough.
step by step,
Yeah.
how he's creating, that is that, okay, first this was created, the false ego. Then false ego is the most subtlest. No? It's the most subtlest. And the subtle the element, the stronger it is. That's the reason the false ego is so strong. You know? And then from subtle, it goes to gross and gross. And then the earth is the most grossest of the element, the soil that we see.
So false ego is what, like I?
I.
It's I and mine.
But yes, that I am separate from Krishna. Because
I'm separate, yeah.
Ego is there. Ego is always there. Even in our pure
ego is always there. It's very, very hard to,
I know, but what I mean to say, even in our pure state, ego is there. Because that sense of being, that you know, I am an individual, that is always there because we are individual. But what is the pure ego? The pure ego is that I am an eternal part and parcel, a loving servant of Krishna.
Okay, so that is pure ego.
Yes.
Okay.
And then what is the false ego is that I am this body. I am
creating, I'm doing this.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And when we say that I am creating and I'm doing, that means what does it equal to mean? That I'm God. You know, that I'm God is my competitor, or he doesn't exist, and that I'm God. Although we don't say it verbally, but it means.
But then it's there, yeah. Many times in our mind, oh, I did this.
Of course.
Yeah. Very true. And then we have to give a slap to ourselves and no, it's not us. I know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So we just. I'm sorry.
We are conditioned.
Yes. Yes. Right. That is our conditioning. That's right. Yeah. Yes. So then we just, you know, hear and chant and hear and chant and, you know, pray for the mercy of the Lord to take away this conditioning of ours. Yeah. And this is a good month to do that. Pray to Srimati Radharani.
Yeah.
Take deeper shelter.
Yeah.
So shall we stop here for today?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you
for joining in today. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande.